Hello, beautiful people of the internet. Daniel here, and welcome to my Halt and Catch Fire Season 3, Episode 10 review, which is the Season 3 finale titled NeXt. Now, this is a review that is long overdue. I did watch the episode when it aired. I wrote my recap and my pros and cons. I never got around to actually filming the review, and I find myself apologizing all the time on this channel, but it's true, man. I really do feel bad that we're almost, in a few months, it's going to be a year since the finale aired for Season 3, and now I'm making the review. So for the few people that watch this, the very few that end up watching this, thank you so much. And, as we usually do on the channel, I'm going to recap the episode. It should take less than 2 minutes. And if you've already seen the episode and you wouldn't want to watch the recap, I do kind of put a little bit more in there in the recap and my thoughts on certain things every now and then. But if you've already seen the episode and you just want to get to the pros and cons, feel free to skip over to the pros and cons at the end. And I will be reviewing the final season of Halt and Catch Fire. I've reviewed all seasons of Halt and Catch Fire. Now, I don't think the season 1 reviews are not on the channel here, because that was on my older channel, and that was a while back, so we're talking about 3 years ago. So, anyway, as well, the background, I know it's boring, I know it's plain, I know it's very green. It looks like I'm a beginner at this, trust me. I've been on YouTube for 6 years, reviewing for 6 years. This is not my usual background. We're getting the house ready to sell, etc., etc., so I had to take stuff down. So I know it's boring, I know it's plain. Bear with me here. Anyway, let's get to the recap for the Season 3 finale of Halt and Catch Fire. So we begin the episode with Donna setting up a meeting, a presentation where Joe, Cameron, and Gordon are going to be in the same room all together back at the Mutiny office from the beginning of Season 3, now that it's empty. Because now mutiny is basically not a thing. She's setting up a meeting basically to talk about the World Wide Web and her theory and the way that she wants it to be done, and see if they're going to be on board with her. Now, all 4 of them are in the room, and Tom's there too, which he wasn't invited, but since he's Cameron's husband, he ends up butting in there. So they talk about the internet talk, and Joe says his ideas, Gordon says his ideas, Cameron's kind of on the side, being a little bit more quiet. Things get a little awkward. Donna, is getting overwhelmed, so she just says, "Okay, let's just go to lunch. Let's do a lunch break." So Tom ends up being a jerk more towards Joe because he knows something happened between him and Cameron during Comdex, the previous episode. So again, all of them have ideas, and Cameron ends up leaving. She gets overwhelmed. Cameron talks to Bosworth, kind of seen for advice, and Bosworth does give her some advice. He also bought a boat as well. So that's not more important to the story, but it's cool because Bosworth is damn awesome. Gordon and Donna are drinking wine later in the day. Again, they're divorced, so time has passed by, and they're kind of laughing about things, and they're that drunk again where they're just talking to each other more and opening up more and saying how things are different and possibly maybe getting back together. Possibly. Things are looking a little bit better for Gordon and Donna now. So they're being cute. Joe ends up explaining the web a little bit more. Tom gets angry at him and starts this fight. And they start to fight, and then Joe falls through the floor. But in the basement, there's this thing that ends up breaking his fall. So it could have been worse. We could have lost our Joe McMillan, but we didn't. He ends up breaking his wrist, or spraining it. So Tom is triggered, which I wrote there. Cameron ends up taking Donna's idea, in a way, her plan, because Cameron ends up going to Donna and saying, "I'm down with this idea, but I cannot work with you. I am not going to work with you on this." And Donna just loses all of her cool and says, "Just take it. Take it like you take everything else." Donna storms out of there. She ends up calling her boss or her people she works for, and she says, "Get me a flight to Switzerland." She's going to Switzerland. In a way, in the way Halt and Catch Fire, the series began, it almost made it look like Joe was the villain for a while, but now it kind of turns the tables, because there's really not one, it's not like a show where there's a villain throughout the whole series in a way. It's more of a sense, now Donna's becoming more of that villain role now, which is very interesting. So anyway, she's going to head to Switzerland, and Cameron and Gordon and Joe are basically now working on the World Wide Web. Now on to the pros and cons. Starting off the pros, no surprise here. I always say this for every single Halt and Catch Fire episode because it's true. The acting, writing, and directing are always great. All of the characters had their individual moments to shine. Joe had some really cool moments in there. Cameron at the end when she took Donna's ideas and said she couldn't work with her. Donna had her moment. I mean, all these actors and actresses. I mean, Lee Pace, Mackenzie Davis, Scoot McNairy, and Carrie Bechet. All of them are so fantastic in here. One of the reasons why I really love this finale is that 90% of this episode takes place in one room in the Mutiny office. And I think that's just I really thought it was a genius idea, especially when it first aired. I was thinking, usually in finales that people go here or there or it's some big thing, but really them just sitting down and talking about the World Wide Web, and Joe gives his ideas, Gordon gives his ideas, Tom's being an asshole, Cameron's just listening on the side, and Donna's, getting frustrated. And having that for most of the finale, I don't know why, but I just love the idea of that. Now, for most of Season 3, I've been saying that Joe has been a different person. He's been more human. He's just aged more in a sense where he's not all about himself in a sense. He listens. He's more open to ideas and people, and he'll listen to other people's ideas. Where in Season 1, he was more of a villainous person, hair slicked back, salesman pitch, making a deal with the devil type of person. And with that, in this episode, when he goes up to the whiteboard and he starts to talk about the World Wide Web, and he starts selling this idea, and he starts doing this promotion of this Donna's idea, he became that Season 1 character again, and that's what I love. Lee Pace, Scoot McNairy, Mackenzie Davis, Carrie Bechet, all of them, like I said, had their moment in this episode, but none other than what Lee Pace did with Joe this episode, and how I just saw Season 1 Joe in him, and then he goes back to the Season 3 sort of more quiet-esque character, but again, I just fell in love with that moment there, and he could sell any idea. Like, he could just go up to the door and be like, this apple, blah, 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 and I'll just be like, yeah, I'll give you $5 for the apple, because he can totally sell you that. Definitely for Season 3, I've kind of been up and down for Cameron and Donna. I like Donna, and then I hate Donna. I like Cameron, and then I dislike Cameron. Now, Cameron was more quiet this episode. Again, Tom was the one really doing the doing. But with the sense of her taking Donna's idea, it was an interesting ending. It definitely was for sure, because I didn't see that coming. And it's kind of... It's weird because Donna literally, again, could have just stepped up and said no. And she could have just said, no, I've had enough of your bullshit. I wanted you to work on this with me, but I'm not going to let you take this one. You've taken all the other stuff. Or maybe a sense she felt like she had to give this one to Cameron in a sense. But the way that she just went to her car and she started crying, and then she sucked up her tears and she said, okay, this is my next move, and I'm gonna do something else, which I guess we'll see in Season 4 what she ended up doing. But that's something, again, where I'm always up and down with Cameron, but the actors or the actresses play it so well. And especially, and I'm hoping this is true, because I don't hate the actor, but I hate the character, and it's Tom. The way that Cameron goes to Bosworth, and it's more of that moment, like, are you going to have kids? That was a horrible impression, but, like, are you thinking about having little munchkins around, little kids? And she's like, no, that's not me. And in a sense, you really see it in her face and in her reaction. It's like, Tom's not the one. Yeah, I'm not going to be with Tom for long because she belongs with Joe. I love that so much. And last but not least for the pros, while Cameron and Tom's relationship withers to ashes, we have another one in bloom, obviously with Gordon and Donna's wine scene where they're just, it's a very cute scene where they're just kind of, I don't know, it feels like they're young again in a sense, like if they're teenagers and they're having a bottle of wine and they're rethinking everything and kind of, oh, this and that, blah, 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 and it was just so cool to see that happen, and then that's where you really, like, you love Donna there, and you could love Donna in this scene. The next episode, you could hate Donna. The next episode, you could love Cameron, you could hate Cameron in that episode, and that's what I like about this show a lot more as well, is the way you could feel different about these characters. Like, I'm on your side I'm not on your side here. I like this. I don't agree with you on this. And that's something that's so cool, because every episode the characters have a different mood or a different opinion, or they see it this way and the other one doesn't like it that way. So it's really cool how that ends up working out there. But I don't think Gordon and Donna will end up getting back together. I really don't think so, especially the way Donna's not going to Switzerland, and they're still horrible parents. I've said this for a long time. They're still horrible parents. Who knows where little Joni is at the time that they're at there. They really don't care for their kids, do they? Anyway, the whole wine scene there, especially the mutiny scenes again, like I said, when they're in the whiteboard and they're just... Those are my favorite scenes in this finale, and that's my favorite part, is just them trying to do the World Wide Web. And then secondary, I'd say that the wine scene is just a really cute scene, seeing them kind of catch up. Sadly, it had to be with them just drunk, and they couldn't do it while they were sober. Now going on to the cons, there are just a few things that I want to go over. They're nothing too huge. Again, I did think this episode was great, and I don't mean to be like that every episode where I'm like, it's a great thing, it's a great show, like, because I do believe it's a great show. And yeah, there are certain episodes in the series that wasn't up to par, wasn't up to this. There are some okay episodes. Not all of them are singly great. But with Season 3, all of them, for the most part, from my knowledge, 95% of it was a great season. And it topped Season 2 and it topped Season 1. So they keep on raising the bar every single episode and every season. But here, again, I really don't see that many problems. There's just certain things that maybe I would change, or things that I personally don't like. But here's a question here. Where are all the mutiny workers? Does anyone ever think about that? Like, where are the mutiny workers? They don't update. Are we going to see them in Season 4? Is that the end of Yo-Yo? Where are them? I mean, where are they? Where is the mutiny workers? I want to see them, and Cameron and them, or Donna, they don't care where the mutiny workers are. Like I said earlier, Donna could have easily said no to Cameron. And again, maybe she thought, since everything about Mutiny and Cameron and the way that ended up ending out, maybe she ended up thinking, okay, I need to give this one to Cameron. But again, with an idea like the World Wide Web, Donna could have just said no. And she could have found another person. I know she likes Cameron, and then she hates Cameron. And, you know, I know Cameron's very hard to get through sometimes. But she could have just said no instead of going to her car and crying. It's well acted out, and it's well written. It's still, again, she could have just said no. Because when you think about it, most of Season 3, Cameron and Donna were childish. It's a very childish thing for women their ages, how they just don't get along. And yeah, there's a second of sense where, okay, I'll listen to your idea, and then the next moment, oh, I'm just going to take your idea. Because, you know, she gave it to her. But it's still a thing like, no, this is my billion-dollar idea, and I'm just, oh, you can't work with me? Here's the billion-dollar idea. Okay, I'm going to, bye-bye, I'll just do something else. I still just don't see how that ends up. If this was real, I don't think Donna would actually do that. I think she would end up saying no. That's really the only complaint. And then where are the mutiny workers? Other than that, it was a really, really... It wasn't like an A+ sort of episode, but it was great with the writing, the directing, and the acting, and the way the characters worked off each other, the chemistry. And it definitely gets me very excited for Season 4 and where Donna's going to go, and where the World Wide Web, on how big it ends up becoming, and what other little situations will happen then. So that, again, gets me very excited there. So I did think it was a great episode with in the one room. That right there is great. All the other little side bits, you know, the Bosworth scene and the drunk Donna and Gordon, those are all just, it's good. It's a good episode there, but with the one room, that's where I was smiling the most. That's where I was happy, and I was just very, very impressed. Somehow I'm always just impressed and shocked on how more they could top the bar, the way the writers and the everyone that works on this show. Again, you guys are making something awesome that's very underrated, and I wish this show had way more love. I wish it had way more talk. I wish I would see this trending on Twitter, Halt and Catch Fire, episode 3 was amazing, something like that. I really wish it was a show like that, but sadly, it's not. Anyway, I'm going to give the season 3 finale of Halt and Catch Fire an A-, secondarily a solid B. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for joining me for the season 3 finales. I'm sorry that 100% of the time it was me just saying it's a great show, because it really is, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time. And I'm happy that almost every single episode this season wasn't bad. I'm glad that each and every one had a different feel to it, and these characters, again, I think that's the most thing I love about the show, is the characters and how much I love them. And I can't wait for season 4, and I'm sad that it's the final season, but we're going to cry together, all of us. All of us are going to cry together during that last episode. Thanks again, everyone. Make sure to check out all the other season 3 reviews and the season 2 ones down below and at the end. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. I'll see you in a month and a half. Bye-bye.